My name is Amaka, and this story started the day I came back home to take care of my grandmother, Mama Nika. She was the one that raised me after my mother died, so when she fell sick, there was no way I could leave her alone. I was supposed to be in my final year in school, but I told my course mates that I would come back later. My father works in Lagos, and he hardly comes home. Sometimes he sends small money, sometimes nothing at all. So it was just me and Mama in our old house in Enugu. Mama's sickness made her weak, her legs were swollen, and she coughed often. I would wake up every morning to boil water, bathe her slowly, and help her to eat. Some days she could not even lift her spoon. I would feed her like a baby and clean her up. Even though it was not easy, I did not complain because she had done much more for me when I was small. One morning, while I was arranging the bed, I found a 500 naira note under her pillow. I was surprised. I looked at Mama, but she was asleep. I thought maybe it fell from my own pocket when I was sleeping. I picked it and put it aside. The next morning again, another money appeared. This time 1,000 naira. I checked everywhere, wondering if my father came home in the night. But the door was locked from inside. Mama only smiled when I asked her about it. She said, "Angels are watching you, my daughter. Keep doing good." I laughed and told her she was funny, but in my heart, I started to think, how can angels bring money? Still, I did not talk much about it. Every few days, I would find another small amount under her pillow. Sometimes 500, sometimes 200. It always came when things were tight. When I had no food money, I would find something there. I started to believe maybe God was really using angels to help us. Because of the money, I was able to buy medicine for Mama and small foodstuff. Neighbors started saying I was lucky that my prayers were working. I smiled, but inside I was just confused. Where was the money really coming from? Mama would only touch my hand and say, "Keep thanking God." She never explained more than that. That was how everything started. The small money under the pillow that made me believe in something I did not understand. I did not know then that what I was calling miracle was coming from love, not heaven. Days turned into weeks, and Mama's body became weaker. Her voice grew softer, but she still tried to smile whenever I entered the room. She would tell me to sit near her and rub her legs with palm oil. Sometimes she would hold my hand and look at me for a long time, as if she was studying my face. I did not understand it then. I just thought maybe she was in pain. One Saturday morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I wanted to sweep the whole house before the sun became too hot. When I lifted Mama's pillow to shake it, I saw money again. 1,500 naira this time, neatly folded in 2 places. I paused for a while, just staring. The money looked too new, like something fresh from the bank. Mama had not left the bed for weeks, so how could it be there again? I carried it and went to her side. She was awake but weak, her eyes half open. I told her that I found more money again. She looked at me and smiled faintly. Then she whispered that God never forgets people who care for others. I nodded, but my mind was not at peace. Something was not adding up. That afternoon, I went to buy foodstuffs with the money. When I got to the shop, the woman who sold rice looked at me and said, "Amaka, you and your grandmother are really trying, oh." She told me she heard that Mama used to save money in her market days before she stopped trading. I was surprised because Mama had never mentioned that. I started thinking if maybe she was the one putting the money under her pillow by herself. But how? Her hands were always weak. When I came back home, I cooked yam porridge and fed her. She smiled as she ate slowly, 1 spoon at a time. I told her that I would never forget how strong she was, and she only laughed a little before coughing again. I felt scared. I begged her not to leave me. She told me to have faith and keep doing what is right. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about the money and her smile. Around midnight, I woke up to check on her. She was sleeping quietly. The small purse she always tied around her waist was lying beside her. I had never seen her without it. I wanted to open it, but something in me said no. I covered her properly and lay back down. That was the night I started suspecting that the money was not coming from heaven, but from somewhere closer, somewhere I was not yet ready to face. The following week was one of the hardest weeks of my life. Mama stopped eating well. She would take only a few spoons of pap in the morning and say she was full. Her skin looked pale, and her voice shook whenever she called my name. I tried everything. Hot water massage, herbal medicine from a neighbor, even prayers at night. Nothing seemed to change. One afternoon, my father called from Lagos. He asked how Mama was doing, and I told him the truth, that things were getting worse. He sighed and said work was hard, that he had not even been paid his salary. I could hear the tiredness in his voice. I told him not to worry, that somehow we were managing. He sounded surprised and asked how we were managing since he had not sent money. I almost told him about the money under the pillow, but something stopped me. I just said we were fine. That same evening, I went to the backyard to fetch water. When I came back, I heard a soft sound from the room, like someone whispering. I entered quietly and saw Mama sitting up halfway, holding the small purse she always tied around her waist. Her hand was shaking, and she was counting some money slowly. I stood by the door, watching her. After a while, she pushed 2 notes under her pillow, then closed her eyes and started praying. She said words I will never forget. She prayed that I would never lack in life, that my hands would never beg, and that even when she was gone, I would still find help in unexpected ways. Tears filled my eyes, but I did not move. I realized then that she had been the one keeping the money under the pillow all along. She was using her last savings to make me believe I was being helped by God, just so that I would not lose hope. Later that night, when she noticed I had been quiet, she asked if I was tired. I told her no. I wanted to tell her I had seen what she did, but my throat was heavy. I just said, "Thank you for everything." She smiled gently and said, "You are my reward." Then she fell asleep. That night, I could not stop crying silently. I remembered all the times I had called the money miracle. I realized it was love pretending to be a miracle. Mama was giving me her last strength and her last money without wanting me to know. I held her frail hand till morning, praying that she would wake up stronger, though deep inside, I knew the time was getting close. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The room was quiet, too quiet. I turned to look at Mama, and for the first few seconds, I thought she was still sleeping. Her eyes were closed, her face calm like someone resting after a long journey. I called her name softly. No answer. I touched her hand, and it was cold. My heart jumped. I shook her gently, but she did not move. That was how I knew she was gone. I sat beside her body, shaking and crying. I begged her to wake up, even though I knew she could not hear me. The tears refused to stop. For a long time, I just sat there, remembering everything she ever told me. I remembered her laugh, her stories, the way she used to call me her sunshine. Now, the room felt empty, as if her spirit had left with all the warmth inside. When neighbors heard my cry, they rushed in. Soon the house was full. Some women helped me cover her body properly, while others started making calls. My father arrived 2 days later, looking broken. He stood by her coffin and wiped his eyes quietly. He could not even talk much. The burial was small but peaceful. People came from the village, and everyone said she was a good woman who lived a kind life. After the burial, the house became quiet again. I found myself going into her room every day, just to feel close to her. I would sit on her bed and touch the pillow where she used to sleep. One afternoon, while I was folding her clothes to give out, I saw the small purse again. It was hidden inside her wrapper. I opened it slowly and saw only small money left, 850 naira. There was also a folded piece of paper. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside, Mama had written in her shaky handwriting, "My child, life will not always give you what you want, but do not give up. I was never rich, but I had peace. Use what I leave you to start again, and remember that love is the only real treasure." I sat there and cried till evening. Every line of that note felt like her voice speaking directly into my heart. The money was small, but the meaning behind it was too big to explain. That night, I lay on her bed and promised myself that I would never waste the love she showed me. I did not know how, but I was sure I would find a way to honor her memory. After Mama's burial, I stayed in the house alone for some weeks. The silence was heavy. Every corner of the house reminded me of her voice, her laughter, even the smell of the balm she used to rub on her chest at night. Sometimes I would wake up thinking she was calling me, only to remember she was gone. The neighbors checked on me once in a while, but most times I was alone. The little money Mama left could not do much, but I used it carefully. I bought food, soap, and small data to search online for work I could do from home. One day, I saw an advert for a tailoring apprentice. I remembered how Mama used to mend clothes for people when I was small. I felt that maybe this was the sign I needed. The fee for registration was 5,000 naira, and I had less than that. But I still went to the woman and begged her to allow me to start paying small. She looked at me for a long time and then agreed. I believed Mama's spirit helped me that day. The first weeks at the shop were hard. My hands were slow, and I made mistakes often. Sometimes the other girls laughed at me, but I kept reminding myself why I was there. Every time I got discouraged, I would remember Mama's words in that note, that love is the only real treasure. It gave me strength to keep going. One evening, after closing from the shop, I went back home tired. I entered the room and sat on Mama's bed like I always did. As I leaned back, my hand touched something under the pillow. I froze. My heart started beating fast. I lifted the pillow slowly and saw a small folded paper. There was no money this time, just her handwriting again, faint and rough. It said, "If you are reading this, it means you kept going. I am proud of you. Do not stop shining, my daughter." I held the paper close to my chest and cried. It felt like she had spoken from beyond, reminding me that she was still with me somehow. From that night, I stopped feeling alone. I promised that one day, when I start earning well, I would help other people the same way she helped me. Years later, when I became a good tailor with my own small shop, I kept that note and the old purse on a shelf above my table. Anytime life felt too heavy, I would look at them and remember how everything started with the small money under the pillow that taught me what real love looks like.